Well, good morning, everyone. Darren Saul, your host of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast, episode 167. And I have the dynamic duo, Michael Lobb and David Camus in the house.
Hey,
How you doing, boys?
Way. Well, hi. Normally it's us on the other end of this conversation, so I was going to say welcome, but
have we ever been called the dynamic duo before? That's a wonderful
dynamic
statement.
duo. I love it. And yes, that's how I met these gentlemen. They very politely interviewed me and asked me to come on their podcast about a month ago. And so I politely returned the favor, and I'm looking forward to a fantastic chat. And today we're going to be chatting all about some of our favorite topics: technology, AI, remote work, and more. But before we do, I thought I'd give everybody a little bit of an intro into who Michael and David are. So Michael Lobb, the managing director and problem solver at Teamscāl. He has 25 years of experience as a technology leader, working across multiple industries, including finance, consulting, healthcare, and technology. Famous for telling too many dad jokes and enjoys spending time with his two dogs, Chappie and Pocky.
Chappie, Pocky.
David Camus, known for problem-solving multi-stakeholder complex issues and delivering integrated business transformations for Commonwealth and state entities. He has worked with autonomous system integration programs and autonomous vehicles, AI robotics, and deep learning trials. My God, I almost can't even speak. I can't even say those words.
Yeah, what do those words actually mean?
There's a lot of buzzwords there. Where did you get that from?
He's a professional PowerPoint guy.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. We're looking
awesome intro. Love to know. I might write that down. It sounded really good.
Yeah, you can know it. You can plagiarize it to your heart's content. But I thought, guys, it'd be great to just kind of one by one, just have a little bit of a chat about your backgrounds and your journey individually, and then how you met each other, how you became this dynamic duo that always doing this great stuff together, podcasting. So let's start with Michael, and then we'll move on to David.
So I'm originally from New Zealand. I grew up there and spent some time working there before moving to Australia around 2000.
Nice.
And the first major job I had in Australia was actually working with David at a healthcare provider.
Wow, it was love at first sight.
It was let's get on with it and get some stuff done.
Right.
And we spent a lot of time after that just working on different ideas and things like in technology, outside of technology as well. My last 10 years has been a bit of a whirlwind. I was working for some pretty large companies and decided, you know what, I want a bit of time to get my hands dirty. And so I started working with a company here on the Gold Coast, and then moved on to consulting for myself and working with a lot of different clients in different industries. And that has been an amazing eye-opener for the breadth of experience that you can gain by working with different clients. And these days I'm, as you said in the intro, I'm living on the Gold Coast. I'm working hard. I'm not playing as hard as I used to, because as you get older, that sort of, that changes, and more walking with the dogs than it is going out drinking. But and I guess my interests vary in terms of technology. Obviously I love technology, but I've also been playing music since I was 15 and been working in the music industry for various roles. There's a lot of stuff going on at the moment in both industries, and I'm finding ways to merge those at the moment. So
that's fantastic.
Lots of different things.
You can do that. That's the nirvana, when you can merge all your passions together and make some money out of it. Wow, you can't get any better than that.
Definitely.
Well done. Awesome. And David, tell us a bit about you and how you met this gentleman over here.
Oh, well, there's a lot of secrets there. No, I'm old. I started out at uni where there was only 6 computers in the whole university.
Oh, boy.
So that goes back a few years. And I had many wonderful careers going through. Well, I was a building engineer to start with, then a building surveyor, and I came back to Australia in the 80s, and I did a number of roles working for other people.
Yep.
And in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, I met Michael. I think I ended up as the manager of information services at a large healthcare provider.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
Michael came in. Were you there before me or after? I can't remember now.
After you were there first.
Oh, okay. And I know that you left at one point and then went running after you and asked you to come back. Because if there's somebody that you need around you, it's someone who says, David, you know too much to be dangerous, so just leave it alone.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think one thing that's always plagued me is being a little too blunt, and sometimes that doesn't work. With David, it does. So yeah,
it works with me. I like to be told exactly how it is. But no, I learned how to bring down systems very quickly by mistake, and even though. And since then, we've had an awesome business career going through many different consulting agencies, and I've now developed One Bright Cloud, which is a consulting agency looking after all those incredible sexy things that you were talking about a second ago.
Yeah.
But mainly we just do a whole load of big business and looking at cloud technologies and how to connect it all, and see we learn as we go through. And Michael, high-end development and all those capabilities to get together, and we connect it through some sort of technology. And somehow at the end of the day, it just works.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it doesn't.
And about 2 years ago, we both decided, you know what, let's do a podcast. So our podcast, Nerds Out of Water, which you kindly agreed to be on, has been going for nearly 2 years now. We're not as prolific as you. We try to release one at least every month, but you know, I think that what we like to talk about is same as you, get into the nitty gritty of stuff and find out about people and what they're doing in the technology industry. And you know, I think it's going well so far.
Yeah, it's
fireside chats. We just like fireside chats.
Fireside chats without the fire.
Yeah,
a bit warm.
Yeah, but no, your podcast is fantastic. It's got a lot of energy. You got some great guests, and you know, it's great to have sometimes two hosts of a podcast because you bounce off each other and you create a different environment than just one host. So you know, it's really entertaining and very insightful as well.
Thank you.
Fun.
Yeah. So guys, let's chat about technology because obviously it's a topic that we all share. But I'm going to throw this one first to David because he's such a tech head. You know, technology is moving so fast. We're utilizing tech more and more and more. How do we make sure that we stay in control of it rather than it controlling us?
That's a really good question, because if you think about technology right at this present time, you almost jump into video conferencing and we need to talk to somebody. And I go back another step and I look at the laptops and the desktops and the remote working capabilities that we've got nowadays. And 11-year-olds can just step into this whole thing, but technology is part of our lives every day, every year, and something new is coming out for us to play with, whether it be a new capability, a new technology, a new idea of weighing to how we can utilize AI.
Yeah.
And we need to really look at how AI in the future will be used, because it's great playing with it now in the present, but walking, reading, thinking, they're the fundamentals of humans.
Definitely.
Moving on to robotics and automation are just ways of making our lives easier. Mm-hmm. And if we are ill prepared, which many people say we are very ill prepared, I think even Musk has said this, for future capabilities and the super intelligence that will be coming in the next 5 to 10 years, it can be disastrous. So we need to ask AI often, why are they making these decisions? So we need to ask AI, Why are they making these decisions? Because we need to understand the complexities around the decision making.
Gotcha. In other words, not letting AI control all the decisions and not allowing us to interpret or reflect on what's actually happening.
Yeah, because it's great to let AI make these decisions, but looking at how AI is going to be doing so many things in the future, it is really important to understand how we've trained it.
Yeah. And I suppose also, it's also about allowing us as human beings, as you mentioned, to still interact and behave like human beings and do what human beings are meant to do, and not allow us to hide behind AI or just get swept up in this world. And then we almost become like islands, and we don't talk to anybody, we don't see anybody, we don't communicate with anybody, and these computers are just running our lives.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. And Michael sent me a link to Coded Bias the other day, which is something I had already seen part of, and that's the journey of Joy. I can't remember her name. Joy Bulawami, and she went into the depths of how AI is trained, and showed that it's trained predominantly by pale-skinned people,
Right?
and colored skins is a problem. And AI can't understand what colored skins is with photogenic capabilities. So we need to look at how we're training them. And even the recent cyber attacks, we're training, or somebody has trained those cyber attacks to happen. And if you think about those cyber attacks, they don't attack Russian language machines. Very interesting how we can train AI to do something, but unless you know how it's trained, you don't get the feedback. Right. Michael, what do you think?
My God, Michael, yeah, what's your take on all this?
I'm one of the people who thinks, as any kind of technology, it's neutral. Everything it's neutral. It's how we plan to use it, or how we don't plan to use it. And often, if we don't plan, things happen and they're out of our control. If we do plan, then they're in our control. And I agree with what David said. I don't think we're prepared for the super intelligence that's coming out of technology in the near to mid time frame. So I'd like to sort of get on top of that, which is why I like to stay on top of technology, and why I like to understand what's happening. Even so, it's getting away. I don't know half the stuff that my nephew would know, for example, and he's just turned 21. So it's really hard to keep up with what's happening in the world of technology when at the base of it, I'm involved in business technology. So, it's not world technology or not life-saving technology. It's just business technology. So, and then of course there's the social part of that, which David touched on, where we do lose touch. And we'll probably come to this later, but the working from home thing has isolated a lot of us. In my case, I enjoy working on my own. I enjoy being on my own, but there are times when you want that company and you want to be in the company of somebody else. So the technology facilitates that through chat or through video calls. And, we're even adding non-verbal communication into our chats now with emoticons and emojis. And, you can even do things like if someone's going overboard visually, which is, it's really good, where we have those indicators to tell us, hey, Michael, you've been talking for too long, move on. And in written communication or in chat communication, you don't have that sort of, gentle nudge.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a paradox in a way, that in this last few years of, what's happened in the world, technology has saved us in a way. We are able to talk to each other and communicate with each other through Zoom and do all these things. Can you imagine if this happened 20 years ago?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
My God.
Could you imagine it? That's right.
Wow.
No?
The infrastructure wouldn't cope, for one.
I think the 11 and 12-year-olds are so much better than doing remote working and video conferencing than anybody else.
Yeah. It's crazy. So it's such an interest. Like technology is such an interesting balance. The advancement of technology versus how we stay human and how we be true to who we are as a species. Fascinating balance, but I suppose you've got to keep an eye on it.
And if you think about AI and how it's trained, and this is what I'm trying to explain to some technologists and board members. So if one person trains AI to make decisions, all of the training will be about how I think.
True.
So if you have 100 people, then you've got a list of 100. Now 10,000 people's worth. Now you're starting to think that there are multiple ways, and AI can learn that different people or different ideas have different solutions. But unless the geographic is even farther spread than that, the AI is still very trained to that one set of people.
Yeah, so it's very subjective.
Hmm.
And so what does that mean? Does that mean eventually it might give us, if it has enough of a cross-section of influences, it might give us a choice?
Hopefully, because at the moment, AI is very around the university group of people, and all the training is around those, how do you put it, all the libraries that you can pull the decision making from are all based, they all go back to libraries that have happened through universities, and a university sector is only one sector of knowledge.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
But you take that back for a second, and I don't mean to get existential here, but a human from childhood only has a certain number of influences across their learning from when they're a child to when they're an adult. That they read books, they've got their parents, they've got their family, they've got their their friends that they meet at school, their teachers, and all of that, and that trains them how to be a person. And I know that there's probably a level of inbuilt personality when we're born, but there is a lot of training that goes on as well. So for me, I think that AI having too many inputs may actually reduce their individuality, and having individuals to deal with could be difficult because of the power that we're putting on AI, or the power that we're giving AI to make decisions in our lives.
Yeah, and sometimes too much choice or too much influence is actually overkill. It's too much. We don't know where to start. It's too confusing.
Yeah, I know if there's a menu with more than 3 items on it at a restaurant, I'll go, what? I'll just close my eyes and pick one.
Where's the chicken?
Actually, that's so funny, because I just hand it to Lisa and go, could you choose for me?
And I mean, in terms of, where do you think AI is going? I mean, that's an interesting one. Just for the layman, in terms of, how we live our general lives, is it all going to be voice? Is it going to be something else? Is it going to be holograms? Where is it going? What do you see in the next 5-10 years?
Want to go, Michael, or shall I? You go first.
Yeah, look, you'll be surprised how much AI is happening already, and how much it's in our lives without even thinking about it. It doesn't have to be voice or visual or AR or VR or anything. It's just at the moment, it's a decision-making unit that may be deciding a very specific thing, or different paths to take with a very specific thing. As that expands, I think that we're going to move into the territory where we do get individual AIs that have their own personalities and can make decisions on multiple things. And in the very distant future, I mean, there's a really great author out there who writes a series of stories about the culture, this distant future of humanity, where the ships that are all AIs and have their own personality, and they are individuals, and they name themselves, and they've been around for millennia. So they have all this experience from all of the people that they run into, and they're getting to the point where they're actually a little bit eccentric because they've got so much knowledge and they just don't know what to do with it. So, I don't know about the medium future, but the very distant future, that's where I think it's going.
It's almost like a science fiction film.
What was that grumpy computer called on Blake 7?
Hitchhiker's
No.
Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's right. The grumpy computer. Yep, I've got my own.
And what
about you, David?
What about you, David? What do you think?
You probably have a shorter, like, a more close term. I won't say shorter,
Oh.
but closer term.
I fully agree. AI is all around us. If we look at autonomous cars in Australia, we have very few autonomous vehicles, we believe, except I press my button, the car parks itself. I press another button and I've got the lane assist. I press another one and I've got adaptive cruise control. These are all ways AI is coming into our capabilities. And oh, what's that in the background now? That's my little robotic vacuum cleaner that sends me a message on my phone that tells me exactly where it's cleaned and if it's got stuck or if it's full. And it's wonderful. It just goes off every day. And it's one of my favorite toys.
Do you have your lighting and everything, and your fridge and your heating all controlled by AI already, or not yet?
No, I can see how dangerous external connectivity is.
Yeah.
And a lot of my house is not connected. But I do have two networks. I have a network where I have an outside connectivity and a network where it's just internal connectivity, because I like to have an air break between them.
Yeah. Is that because of security?
That's because of security. Yeah, because I work a lot with AI in injected code and malicious code finding, so cybersecurity and understanding how cyber attacks are going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you look at how some things are happening at the moment, we look at deepfake. Deepfake is the ability for AI to mimic either an image and turn that image into a video, or take a video, then overlay it with somebody else's words. So am I real? You wouldn't know right now whether I'm real or not. Actually,
That's
Michael
right.
would, because he knows what an idiot I am. But
I mean, and that's a really good point. With deepfakes coming on like that, you can clone a person's voice to a degree. With, we all do podcasts. There's enough of us out there to be able to learn our voices, right? Yeah. And also our faces, because, we're doing a lot of video calls. So in theory, we've got to have something real to latch onto to say, are you David? That's right. And if how did we spend your 40th birthday? AI is not going to know that.
That's right. That's right. But I suppose if you've done enough episodes, AI can already understand how you might respond to certain subject matter, and it will just answer the question for you, and it'll be pretty close.
Exactly.
This is what we were saying a minute ago. AI taking over podcasting, but it would be deep fake podcasting.
So what do they call that? Deep fake, is it?
Deep fake. FAKE. It's way that a image can be turned into a video, and then or videos, and the algorithms behind it, you can type in the words you want it to say, or you can even speak the words you want it to say, and the deep fake image will say it exactly in the voice of that person who it's copying. Amazing capability. So facial recognition isn't suitable on its own. Wow. Very interesting that how facial recognition is now becoming almost going to be something of the past, and we haven't even got into it yet.
And this is fascinating from a marketing point of view, because a lot of people these days, for example, we're always struggling to put together content and get our marketing content out there. We can just get AI, press a button and do it all for us. It'll do a video for me. Yeah. Or say, do a video about that. Do a video about that. Yeah. Put some content together about that, and it'll just do it for me. My God.
Potentially, yeah.
That's crazy.
And what's fascinating to me is how these deepfakes work, and whether it's voice or video, they generate a fake version, and then they test that against a recognition pattern that says, is this fake or not? And they do that millions of times until it can't determine that it's fake.
Wow.
So the more effort we put into determining that it's fake,
the better it gets.
And oh wow, how,
oh my God,
when we're accelerating so fast, because
And so how long do you think before this stuff really becomes, mainstream in what we do every day for our work and our life, with this deep fake stuff?
What you were talking about 2 minutes ago with marketing, where it comes up with a script and presents it for you, that's available now
Already.
Oh
my God.
Is it good? Yeah. Adobe a few years ago at one of their conferences announced a platform that could generate your voice based on 10 hours of learning.
Wow.
They bought that package out, and then suddenly it disappeared off the shelf because it was like, hang on a minute, we might be going too far with this. So
it just wasn't right yet.
Wasn't the right time. But
Wow.
yeah, this sort of stuff is coming out now, and it's like anything. It's not good, not great now, but it will be.
Yeah, it's got a first generation. Yep.
Yeah.
But there are supercomputers that are making it incredible, and that's where it becomes dangerous, because you have malicious intended people who have the access to this sort of thing, who are now dispersing the information. So you see me on the news broadcast saying the bad, the good, and the evil, but it might not be me.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably will be, but
or David gets a phone call from me saying, "Hey, David, I'm in Sydney at the moment, and I desperately need some money. Can you send me some money to this bank account?"
Yeah.
And David recognizes my voice and goes, "Oh, sure. Are you okay?" And the algorithm goes, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just in a bit of a panic at the moment.
Oh my God.
I got to go," and hangs up. And because it knows what, and this is real stuff that's happening, and people are getting scammed by it. So,
I mean,
I'm the treasurer of Teamscāl, which is a very large travel agency group, and I get emails every day from the chair saying, "I need you to transfer money." But they are all fake emails, and I can see they're fake emails because if you delve into them, you've got the incorrect email addresses.
I agree. Yep.
And that's the old school way of doing what Michael just said then about a phone call, a deep fake phone call.
As soon as AI really kicks in and does it for you, it's going to be very hard to distinguish what's real and what's not. And
it is.
Right.
We're going to get scammed left, right, and center. But then
Sorry, I had somebody else who wanted to come on the podcast.
Fantastic.
Hello, Soxy.
Soxy.
He's meowing all around me.
Why not? Love it. But I mean, I agree with you. Like it's becoming a real problem. All this scamming. I'm getting SMSs, emails constantly, and I can tell, as you say, because the email address is incorrect, or it's sent to my wrong email address where it's meant to be registered, and then I know, that's just a scam. But it's becoming so at the forefront of everything we do, and I get bombarded with it. And my day's so busy as well that sometimes you might just have a little glitch in your thinking, and you don't have the time to really analyze, and you might press a button, and you've just got hit, and it's just becoming ridiculous.
Your Telstra payment has been declined.
Telstra. Yep.
Oh, I only paid that the other day. Oh, click.
Bang.
Takes you to the Telstra website, but on the way to the Telstra website, it has just picked up all your details.
Oh, it's becoming so scary. But then again, maybe will AI develop? Will there be some kind of AI-based tool that will protect us in terms of security from that?
Yeah, there will be, and then the same thing will happen. The tools that learn how to detect it will be used to generate better fakes.
Yeah. So it's almost
like
like
what we're finding with the AI, with the code,
and
with malicious code finding and injected code.
It's almost like cybersecurity. It's your thing. You get hackers. You get on both sides. You got the brilliant programmers, and then you got the hackers.
Yep.
And they're both kind of on opposing sides.
Yeah.
And everybody's at this race to outdo the other.
And it's red team, blue team. You've got one who's trying to defend and one who's trying to attack, and you just the guns just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
And the hackers are brilliant coders.
And
there's no ifs or buts. Hackers are incredible coders, and that's why you try and bring them across the side and change their color.
Bring them from the dark side into the light. Absolutely, it's crazy stuff. Oh my God! I mean, where does it all end? Wow. And what about in terms of business? Do you see, where do you see it as a real benefit for business, AI?
I see AI is a benefit right now. We're using, in its simplest forms, businesses are using the algorithms to look at Google AdWords, Facebook. All of this has got
targeting your marketing campaigns.
That's right. Get that marketing campaign targeted to the females 18 to 21 who use this particular makeup, who have a cat. So we advertise that it is X, Y, and Z. You know how it goes,
Exactly.
and you just really precise it. But if you look back, we've got AI on our computers. We're using AI in our Zoom meeting now in different forms. Well, I've got a blurred background, so somehow there's the AI picking up that I've got a microphone in front of me.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle, and the background has got blurred.
Isn't that fantastic? That's fascinating. I never thought about that. I've always thought about it would just have two planes, but it's actually got three planes now.
Yeah, so if I come
that
forward,
you are there. Yeah.
No, it doesn't even work.
Yeah.
There we go. If I put my hand on the microphone, you
Yeah.
can see the microphone. Now
That's
it comes
crazy.
Yeah.
So that's AI.
That's a form of AI, and working on through Zoom, I think it is. I think that's the Zoom part of AI rather than the camera, because I'm using a Logi camera that has AI built into it to do different things. But this is all Zoom that's working through.
Unbelievable. And Michael, any thoughts on that?
For business, I mean, we're using it a lot in analytics as well. So it's not just around marketing, but understanding and forecasting based on numbers that you've done in the past and numbers in similar industries. If you give enough information, the models from machine learning can actually give you quite accurate results for the future, depending on different things. And obviously, we use this in terms of helping companies to budget, to do project management is another one. Being able to determine the potential risks and things like that are coming up, and therefore allocate enough time for things to happen. Sure, a good project manager can do that with a couple of good guesses, but a machine learning algorithm can actually come around and go, well, here's the last 15 projects and here's how they worked, plus here's some industry information and here's what the forecast looks like for the next 12 months. So it's more likely that this project will cost 8 million rather than 2 million.
Wow.
So, I think that's going to be
blow
really
out for these reasons. And, this is also coming in the world, and prices of this are going to change, and, just forecast all this stuff.
And as long as it's giving us those reasons, it will make sense to us, and we'll be able to use them as tools to assist our decision making. I really don't want to see computers or technology being the decision makers to that degree, but I think assisting in decision making is really important.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yep, that's a really good point.
They are making our decisions. We go onto a website and ask for a bank loan, or we go and ask for life insurance. The decisions are being made by AI capabilities now around us, long before they get to a human.
Yeah, they're knocking off the low hanging fruit. So if you go for a loan and it can see that you've defaulted on your last 3 loans, no,
disqualify.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to look at how the algorithms are happening at a government level because of COVID. There's been a mass scramble to try and get data for the last 2 years, because all of a sudden our traveling industry, our income, our way of working, how long do you spend at home, how long do you spend traveling, where do you live, is all changing.
Yeah,
because if
our
we go into
totally changed in the last 2 years.
That's right. So that changes how government are looking at the way they spend money. And remote working is something that is changing all of us.
Yeah.
There are so many people now who realize that I can actually do my work from the back of a caravan out the back of Gundawindi in the middle of whoop whoop. And as long as I do my work, my boss is happy.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, bosses are seeing productivity is increasing, expenses are decreasing, and the work-life balance is altering. And that's a really, really fine thing to say until we look at lockdown and how that worked with individuals, which is what Michael was touching on earlier. And that social interaction, the lack of hugs. as I call it.
Yep.
That one-on-one people time where you go out with a person and you talk to a human is causing pain.
Definitely. And also even things like homeschooling and having, your whole family at home, people can't focus. They don't have time to really be productive with their work because they've got so many distractions.
Yep.
They've got to do all these other prep. So that's becoming tricky in lockdown.
And not everyone has an office.
That's right.
Some people are having to work from their kitchen table with three screaming kids running around and a dog, and and they're grumpy, their partner's grumpy, their kids are grumpy, and it's just and for some people it doesn't work.
Yeah,
the computer just won't work today,
and then everybody's competing for bandwidth. You got 3 devices. The kids have got 3 devices. The wife's in the bedroom at her work. The husband's in the lounge room or the kitchen doing his work, and everybody's on.
I have been in the office for the last few days, and we've been streaming the Olympics, so we've all been competing for bandwidth.
Fantastic. But let's talk about remote work then, because it's a topic that's fascinating as well over the last few years, and obviously, passion for both of you as well. Where do you see it really working, and where do you think it still, needs to be developed, or we need to think about how we might be able to tweak it in some way?
I think remote, from my point of view, Michael and I have done remote working since the year dot, I think. But looking at them as people have moved into this, 11 and 12-year-olds, just works, just happens. It's just normal now.
And they're digital natives. They understand.
Really? How is that? How did you just do that? How did you just make that happen? I've got no idea. But it's working. I'll leave you alone. And so that remote schooling, and when it works, and when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And teachers have started to understand that links, sending children links, some of them work and some of them don't. So they've had to understand that the bandwidth links start slowing them down. But this week I had a board meeting with people from Italy, Germany, UK, and Australia.
Wow.
And normally we would have all been in one country, would have all been around a table. But this time, and the hardest thing it was to remember to unmute yourself so that you could respond. And you end up by staying going. And someone goes, "You're on mute, David, you're on mute, David, you're on mute."
So true. But even from that point of view, the amount of money it has saved organizations in conferences and traveling and meetings, and even just people won't even be bothered anymore taking a plane for an hour meeting. Who could be bothered? Just jump on Zoom in your pajamas.
Yeah, absolutely. and the downside of that, I mean, we used to spend around 16,000 a year on travel. Obviously I've got teams in Vietnam and the Philippines, so it's a lot of people to keep up with, and it's a big cost to travel. But I think that it was beneficial to be, with the people that I work with daily, at least once or twice a year, where I could have one-on-one time with each of them, and get to know each other in a different way than just this guy on the other side of the webcam. And this last 18 months, I haven't obviously not been able to travel over there, and the distance, it's not so much the distance is growing, but there is a difference in the way that we work with each other now, and it's not sad and it's not great, but it's just different, and I'm not comfortable with it entirely. So
you think there's a bit of a hybrid that's probably
there is a hybrid, I think,
beneficial for your organization.
But those 1 hour meetings that David mentioned, you should never jump on a plane for a 1 hour meeting.
Oh, I agree. It's crazy.
I don't believe that's.
But the things that I'm missing. So I right now I can't get to my major contract, which is in another city, and the things that I miss are the things that happen pre and post the Zoom meeting or the video conferencing meeting. It's why don't we just go and grab a cup of coffee? And while you're having that cup of coffee, did I tell you that Joe's just about to leave?
It's all that
and we're going to have a minister change, and we're going to have this change, and we really need to look at, I think we need to talk about this, but I can't tell you on the Zoom meeting because it's all confidential at the moment.
Yeah.
They're
That's
the
right,
things
listening.
I'm missing.
Yeah, it's those little insights that almost happen also because of the fact that your behavior is more relaxed and subconscious rather than in a meeting and there's an agenda and you have to get through this and this and this, but then you forget all those little nuances that are so important to what you do day to day.
It's the water cooler chat.
Yeah. So what I've found and what I'm doing a lot of now is I have the video conferencing and then I have text water cooler chats.
Okay.
Little texts that just, how are you today? And they just bounce off. And I have these texts going with the team members and outside team members and the business all the time. And it's really interesting how people are willing to say, oh, did you know Jim's leaving in a text, but they won't tell you on a video conference.
Yeah. And that brings up another interesting point is, say you're doing that with different WhatsApp groups. You got to be very careful not to type the wrong thing in the wrong group.
Ah.
Oh, yes. I think we've all done that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got to be so careful with this stuff.
Yeah.
I think Michael will remember me having to bring an Exchange server down once upon a time because a CEO had sent an email to the wrong group.
The wrong group.
So, that's the
Instead of
danger.
an individual person.
It's really all this stuff is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's amazing, but there's so many things you have to think about. And I suppose that's why at the end of the day, we need human beings to remain in some form of control.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the WhatsApp group thing is funny, but it is, it does happen every day. Someone sends a wrong message to a group.
Sure.
I know it's not possible in all industries, but in the tech industry, we're taught, I think, to be transparent with everything. So if you send something to the wrong group, it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to send that here.
Yeah.
And they probably knew it anyway. So it's
right.
not, you don't keep secrets from one, you don't divide and conquer. You be transparent and bring everyone together. But I know that doesn't work in every industry. So it's hard.
And it also depends on the message. If you're saying to the wrong person, if you're sending a message to David, the fact that David's about to leave, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Or, we get every now and then we get the wrong message sent to our neighborhood security group, Did you hear James going down the road at 100 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Oh, well, do you want us to send the security there? Whoops, wrong group.
Crazy stuff.
Well, guys, during these times of remote working, we just need to remember the health of all the individuals that we're working with. And if I can just do a quick plug for Beyond Blue, if you're looking at any issues from a mental health, or if you just want to have a talk with someone who is going to be completely unbiased, give Beyond Blue a call on 1300 22 46 46 36. So that's 1300 22 46 36.
Beautiful. I think it's really, really important to get out, do a bit of exercise, go for a little walk, just break the monotony in some way from your day to day, just to get out from in front of your Zoom or your computer and from your four walls, just to get a bit of sanity.
I agree. And, the level of stress, mental stress that people are under at the moment, especially with lockdown, Sydney's in another month of lockdown. Yeah. My team in Vietnam have been probably locked down for about 8 weeks. You've got people who are in the Philippines where we have another team. There's been people in hospital that we've known they've had family die. We are lucky here in Australia, and not a lot of people understand how stressful it is outside of here. We are kind of precious about that as well, when we need to keep that, I think. So
definitely. Yep. Definitely. Well done. Well, guys, let's chat a bit more about your podcast so everybody can find you and follow you. And, what's your podcast, Nerds Out of Water, in essence, all about?
Yeah. So I started Nerds Out of Water with the idea. I'm a bit of a nerd, and sometimes I don't talk to enough people who aren't nerds. It's funny because that's not really true, but that's how it feels to me. And when I started thinking about this, it was like, it'd be great to talk to people outside of my industry who do different things. So, I can get different ideas. And David and I started looking into this and making plans to how it might work. And David was one of the first people on the podcast. And we keep saying that the only person who hasn't been a guest on our podcast is me. So,
so that's how it happened. So you started the podcast. David was your first guest, and then
we went on from there because it seemed to work. Yeah. So
fantastic. Love it.
we're it's more about the business side of technology. And while we do get into depth on some of the technology sides of things, we try to stay on the business side of things and how that's going to affect the world, or how it's going to affect the business, or how we can use that to improve business. And we've had some really interesting guests along the way, and everyone from project managers and technical people through to people who run neon light companies and food companies. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Fantastic. And you sound like you guys really enjoy it as well.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Podcasting is a lot of fun, I must admit. Well done. And
to contact us, you can either go to nerdsoutofwater.com. You can find us on YouTube or any of your favorite downloads.
Podcasting
platforms. That's what I meant. I'm a techo. Podcasting platforms.
And at the moment, it's only audio, isn't it? But you think you're going to get into video pretty soon.
Yeah, because I keep pushing for the video, but Michael keeps pushing back. There's only one with video on it. I think that was mine.
It's because I have to brush my hair when I do it.
That's right. We've got to get
I don't have that problem.
Get a nice background like David, and you're in business.
Yeah.
AI can sort everything out.
But if you wanted to contact us outside of Nerds Out of Water, you can contact me at david.camus at onebrightcloud.com.au.
And for me, it's better to go on Twitter at Michael Lobb, at Michael, MICHAELLOBB.
So Twitter. So you're big on Twitter, eh?
I do a lot of communication on Twitter. I don't necessarily broadcast publicly a lot, but Twitter's probably the place where I make first contact with a lot of people. So
wow, okay, fantastic.
I'm a LinkedIn
I don't really
person.
jump on Twitter as much anymore, but
yeah, and it's true. Like not a lot of people. I won't say not a lot of people, but Twitter did for a little while become strangled with bots just blasting out marketing, but they're getting better at tackling that. There's a lot of technical people on Twitter. There's a lot of cybersecurity stuff on Twitter. A lot of stuff that I love following is, I'll only see on Twitter. Facebook, I just don't do much anymore because it's, I talk to my mum on Facebook. That's about it.
Yeah.
And then LinkedIn I use professionally, and again, I had a bit of a. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, but I had a bit of a. I dumped LinkedIn for a couple of months because all I was getting was people.
You broke up with LinkedIn.
I broke up because it was like, every day I'd come in and there'd be 15 new requests from people who I was actually would think I'd be interested in, but they were bots or they were sales. And it's like, that's disappointing. You talk to them and you say, hey, look, I'm really interested in what you're doing with this thing. And then suddenly it's like, copy paste, oh, we're in the same industry. I'd be interested to know if you'd like a 5-minute phone call about this, blah, blah, blah. And you're like,
reject.
And I agree with you. I get the same thing all the time. And, my philosophy really is, LinkedIn is a fantastic platform. It's one of the best, but you have to use it properly.
Yeah. And
if you do exactly what you've just mentioned, you're just ruining every chance you have of building relationships.
I had a good conversation with a colleague on an accelerator course, and he's given me a lot of tips around that. So you might see me a little bit more on LinkedIn lately.
Yeah, like LinkedIn.
While on the other hand, I use LinkedIn all the time. LinkedIn is my platform of choice from a consulting point of view, and I speak to people around the globe on LinkedIn who are like-minded. I do a lot of rejects. Oh, we should have the 5-minute. I can give you more business. I can reject. But you have to find the right people. And I've used LinkedIn a lot and got business out of it. So I like LinkedIn as a platform.
Yeah, so do I. LinkedIn is probably my favorite platform as well. I think if you really take the time to put out good content that's educational and insightful and informative, builds trust around what you do and who you are, the right people will come to you. And even if you want to eventually approach them a month or 2 months later, after giving them so much information, then they'll be likely to say, oh, you know what, let's have a chat. Well, no, thank you. Rather than just doing it automatically when you press connect. It's just ridiculous.
I think
press
that's
connect and
rude.
all of a sudden, boom, the message comes through. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, I've experimented different ways. I've said, one of them, I said, I've got 5 minutes right now.
Yeah.
You want to call? And didn't hear back. So
it was a bot.
It was a bot.
Kind of automated message.
But for sales, for the small sales websites that I have around the place, non-consulting, so these are for private sales, Facebook's just amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And from an ad point of view, like, the ads, for example, LinkedIn advertising is becoming more and more widespread, but it is quite expensive.
It's expensive, isn't it?
Compared to Facebook and Instagram advertising, where you can get in front of a lot of people for $5 a day.
Yep.
So you can really get some really good traction, particularly with your warmer audience or your own page in a way, or your own group for $5 a day. Whereas on LinkedIn, that won't even touch the sites.
Yep.
And then it annoys me when I'm playing Scrabble and my advert comes up on my Scrabble.
That's right.
Who's this bloody idiot?
Yeah. I'm posting something and all of a sudden, you want to appear on a podcast? Darren, go away.
Teddy bears by bearsandgifts.com.au. Did I say
What?
bearsandgifts.com.au? Yes.
Oh, you were doing the plugs today, aren't you, David?
We're going to turn you into a voiceover artist.
I think you're going to have to charge him, Darren.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Really had a great chat. And I think we covered some really good ground and some insightful, information and stuff about AI and technology, which, was total news to me. So if anybody's interested in learning more, speak to David or Michael. They're a wealth of knowledge in all these areas.
Or speak to Darren and we'll all come on and we'll have another conversation
we'll
online.
do another fireside chat.
Nice.
Absolutely. So guys, before I finish, I always like to give everybody, or my guests in particular, the last say. So any thoughts you want to leave us with at all? We'll start with you, David, and then we'll go to Michael. Any thoughts at all about...
Well, we've spoken about autonomous cars.
Yep.
I think the next era, and I've said this to Michael, are going to be your autonomous flying taxis. That's what's coming in over
almost
the
like
next
the
5
Jetsons.
years.
Remember the Jetsons?
And the Jetsons, that's right.
I
And
used to love that.
the city hubs will be expanding into the suburbs, and you'll be flying for 100 kilometers now into a business hub rather than into a city hub. That's my prediction for 5 to 10 years.
There you go. I'm going to hold you to that. Michael?
I don't have any predictions, but I just hope everyone can continue to be nice to each other and we can all live a happy and harmonious life in this world.
Oh, be nice.
Beautiful. What a great way to finish the show. Absolutely brilliant. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Let's do it again. I think it was so much fun and the audience will love it. So everyone out there, hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And we'll see you very, very soon for another episode of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast. Bye for now.